watching. A horrific crash near Uppsala last Saturday night claimed the life of 5 men. Among the deceased are 26-year-old Brady Robert Austell and his brother 27-year-old Andrew John Austell, both from Kitchener, Ontario. They were two of 4 men in a pickup truck which collided with an oncoming transport on Highway 1117 west of Uppsala just after 10:45 p.m. The other victims in the pickup truck are 42-year-old Kyle Prince from Waterloo and 44-year-old James Jackson from Fort Erie. The 43-year-old driver of the transport was also killed. He is Saquinder Thandi of Cambridge, Ontario. OPP say their investigation into the accident continues. A major drug trafficking bust in Kenora resulted in the arrest of 38 people. 5 police agencies, including the OPP's Organized Crime Enforcement Bureau, have laid over 170 charges. The estimated street value of drugs seized is over $225,000. Police also seized more than $18,000 in cash. The majority of the drugs were marijuana and cocaine. Search warrants took place between October 10th and the 17th, and officers discovered a significant amount of illegal weapons on site. The operation, codenamed Gordon Vale, was the result of months of covert investigations by the agencies. Police believe the supply route stretched from Winnipeg to Dryden. A major player in the Ring of Fire is threatening to pull out of the project if the province can't ensure road access to the chromite deposit. Cliffs Natural Resources wants to build an all-weather road to the site but can't, as it would have to cross land already staked by rival company KWG. Cliffs officials are calling on the Ontario government to step in, saying without access, there is no project. Ryan Bonazzo reports.
When Ontario's Mining and Lands Commission dismissed Cliffs Natural Resources' application last month for an easement of KWG mining claims, it left Cliffs with no land on which to build a road to the Ring of Fire and left the massive project in what company officials have dubbed a tenuous state.
If there's not access with the road, we potentially do not have a project.
Environmental Affairs Director Jason Augeness admits he's not sure how long the company can keep spending money on the Ring of Fire without a way to move forward. He notes Cliffs is in ongoing talks with the province, and they're clear about what they want from the Ontario government.
Ultimately, this is Crown land, regardless of the mining claim status. The province has the ability to expropriate land. They also have the ability to withhold a certain portion for infrastructure development.
It's a hot topic at Queen's Park this week, with the government coming under fire for its handling of the much-touted project.
But the company is about to pull out of Ontario because of the mess this government has made of the Ring of Fire.
Thus far, the province isn't saying whether or not it will intervene in the land dispute, and Minister of Northern Development and Mines Michael Gravel is being careful with his words as they relate to Cliff's threat to pull the plug.
I'm reluctant to comment on anything that Mr. Brewer or anybody else from Cliffs has said in terms of this project. I do certainly understand that they are keen to see the discussions move forward, and as are we.
So is this all just rhetoric? Is Cliffs merely playing its cards in an effort to spur the process along? Perhaps, but Augeness insists that's not the case.
I think this is an honest reflection of where the company is at in terms of evaluating the project and developing the project. We're still very much interested in this. We've invested quite a bit of time and effort in developing this. It's still a very attractive project. This is a potential showstopper, though, if we do not have access to the region.
Ryan Bonazzo, TVT News.
And the chief of the Martin Falls First Nation is speaking out following Cliff's statement. Eli Munia says he's taking the threat seriously, and he's blaming rival company KWG Resources for the stalemate over an access route to the remote site. Meanwhile, the president of KWG addressed the dispute on the Business News Network. Jonathan Wilson reports.
Martin Falls Chief Eli Munias says he's worried that Cliffs may indeed pull out of the Ring of Fire if their stock prices continue to drop and its access road is not supported. The Ontario Lands Commissioner recently rejected Cliffs' application for an easement to build a 300-kilometre road on mining claims staked by KWG Resources. KWG wants to build a railway along that route. Munias says his community naturally prefers a road and says KWG never consulted with them during their claim staking.
And if you're asking me if I blame them, in a way I do, because they installed that staked corridor without our approval to begin with, if they had worked with us, in the beginning, we might not be in this position where we are now.
KWG Vice President Mo Levine disputes that, saying the former chief of Martin Falls, Harry Baxter, helped KWG stake the claims in 2009. Meanwhile, KWG President Frank Smink was a guest on Canada's Business News Network to address the dispute between his company and Cliffs. He says staking claims in remote territory is like a race, with some companies winning and some losing.
Are you being kind of a dog in the manger here, or are you just blocking Cliffs?
Well, I don't think so. I mean, we staked it some years ago now with Cliff's approval. We explained, this is frontier country, and mining in Canada is very much look after yourself. If you find it, it's yours, finders keepers.
Is the logical thing here Cliffs just buys you out?
Well, they can. Anybody can do that. I mean, our shares trade on the market every day. So the buying and selling of KWG is an event that happens minute by minute, second by second.
Cliffs Environmental Affairs Director Jason Augenis says having Cliffs buy out KWG is not an option because there are other companies with claims along the same corridor which could see similar intervention by the Lands Commissioner. Jonathan Wilson, TBT News.
And two big players in the Ring of Fire were in Thunder Bay on Friday, Bob Rae and Phil Fontaine. Rae, a former Ontario Premier and Liberal Party of Canada leader, is now an advisor for the Matawa First Nations. Fontaine is the former National Chief of the Assembly of First Nations and is now working on behalf of Cliffs Natural Resources. Dennis Ward reports.
I'm learning.
Bob Rae says it isn't fair to place the blame on anyone for what some perceive as stalled development in the Ring of Fire. Cliffs Natural Resources have turned up their rhetoric and are talking about pulling out of the project if they can't ensure road access. Many are pointing the finger at the province, but not Rae.
There's market conditions underway. The share price of companies has changed dramatically in some cases. There's a lot of investment decisions that people have to make. I think frequently they will blame some forces that that's not really the problem. The real issue is the market and the viability of projects.
Phil Fontaine has been acting as a special advisor to Cliffs. He's hopeful about the future of the project, but agrees there are external factors at play.
There is some uncertainty at the moment. The markets haven't been great, but I still believe that this represents an incredible opportunity for all concerned, but particularly First Nation communities.
According to Rae, the recent mining commissioner decision in favor of KWG Resources was a surprise to everyone. Cliffs is planning to appeal because the company feels it can't build an all-weather road or develop the project without the easements. Road access is also a big deal for the communities nearby, but Rae cautions the two are very different right now.
The 5 communities that don't have road access have all indicated to me that they want to have road access. So that issue is obviously going to be critically important. But again, let's not confuse that issue of the communities having road access with the corridor, because the corridor is, as under the Cliffs plan, current plan, corridor is a mining road, and that's the purpose of the road.
Part of Cliffs' proposal would see the company build, maintain, and determine the use of what essentially would be a private road. Dennis Ward, TBT News.
In an unusual move, the Ontario Provincial Police have issued a caution to residents of Manitouwadge over a high-risk offender who's residing in that community. He is 74-year-old Gordon Joseph Oliver, who has recently been released from custody. Oliver has previously been convicted for sexual interference, invitation to sexual touching, and incest. Police say his release comes with several conditions, including prohibitions on contact with children, use of computers, travel, and possession of firearms. There was excitement at the Lac des Îles mine as First Nation leaders, politicians, and company officials cut the ribbon on a newly completed mine shaft on Tuesday. After more than $400 million invested in the expansion, the future of the mine is looking bright for North American palladium, and community stakeholders are poised to feel the benefits. Nate Jones reports.
It's taken a few years to get to this point, and there's been challenges. But as the ribbon fell away, the first load of ore came tumbling out of the head shaft, bringing with it the promise of new sustainability. The company says the mine shaft will drastically improve production while lowering costs. Not too long ago, Lac des Îles was an open pit mine, with ore also ramped up from the bottom. The round trip could take a truck well over an hour, with heavy costs in fuel and maintenance. The trip up the new mine shaft will take 6 minutes. Minister of Northern Development and Mines, Michael Gravel, sees a future with the Northwest being a significant contributor to Ontario's economy.
We are seeing more of them in northwestern Ontario. This has been traditionally dominated by northeastern Ontario, and it's a $5 to $6 billion industry, and it's growing as we continue to see these new mine investments taking place.
The completed shaft has been sunk to 825 meters, and although it's not fully operational yet, by the end of the month, the production hoist will be lifting up to 8,000 tons a day. With Lac des Îles in the backyard of Gull Bay First Nation, Chief Wilfred King is looking for new opportunities. Last week, an agreement was signed between NAP and Gull Bay, and the conversation has begun.
You know, revenue sharing, we're going to be talking about jobs and business opportunities, environmental monitoring, and just the ongoing relationship, and taking advantage of the economic opportunity here at the mine for our community.
Economic development aside, King is mindful of the potential environmental impact. The company and the First Nation will be taking an active role to address any environmental concerns. Currently, the reserves at the mine are projected to have about 6 years' life. But for company CEO Phil Dutoy, there is more palladium to be found close by.
We've got quite a lot of other exploration prospects, opportunities, that have not been completely drilled out yet. And that is being drilled as we speak. So we believe there is a lot more than just what is in the reserve base today.
As mines continue to expand and develop in northwestern Ontario, local economies will see the benefits. But striking that balance between environmental stewardship and economic development is crucial in preserving the land that makes this region unique. Nate Jones, TBT News.
New research suggests Lake Superior is the fastest warming body of water in the world. We have the story for you coming up right after the break. Welcome back. Lake Superior is the fastest warming freshwater lake in the world. That news comes following a recent study at the University of Wisconsin. Lake Superior has warmed nearly 3 degrees Celsius in the past 30 years. That increase is higher than any other lake worldwide. According to the article, that warming may be due in part to the large size of the lake. The water on the surface absorbs more solar radiation. When the surface area is hotter, that water mixes less with deeper, cooler water, and overall the lake ends up cooling less. Lake University assistant professor Adam Cornwell says this could mean a drastic shift in how Lake Superior acts.
One projection is that within 30 years, ice-free conditions will be normal for Lake Superior. And then that's a limit. You can't get less than ice-free. But it will be a permanent shift to a longer summer stratified season and warmer lake temperatures.
Those warmer lake temperatures can have both positive and negative effects. It favors some fish species while allowing some invasive species to thrive. The other factor is that with less water movement, nutrients aren't mixed as much throughout the lake. Well, it's all good news, according to the mayor of Atikokan. This in response to the redevelopment of 2 mills in and around the municipality. Resolute Forest Products is currently building a multi-million-dollar facility on the site of the old Sapawi mill. An American-based company, Rentec, is revamping another mill which will supply the Atikokan generating station with fuel. Already the town is seeing the benefits of increased traffic because of the plant conversion, and town council hopes to see further growth as the mills come online.
It's a busy place just outside Atikokan at the former Buchanan mill site. Excavation and blasting is taking place to clear the way for a new $50 million facility. The new sawmill will create 90 direct jobs and more will follow in harvesting and transportation. Resolute has also signed a memoranda of understanding with local First Nations groups. Currently, Rainy Lake Tribal Contracting is involved in the preparation of the property.
We've had some site cleanup and rehabilitation contracts awarded. They've been awarded to First Nations groups, which we're excited to partner with. And the site preparation will be completed by the end of November approximately, and construction will begin in the early spring of next year.
On the other side of town, Rentec is busy refurbishing and developing the site of a former wood fiber mill. Contracts have already been signed with Ontario Power Generation for Rentec to supply wood pellets to the Atikokan generating station. The company is to invest over $22 million in the wood pellet production facility, and it will employ about 20 workers. Mayor Dennis Brown says the conversion of the OPG plant will create even more jobs in harvesting and transportation due to the change in fuel.
When the coal was coming here, it was just coming from Saskatchewan. There were no jobs really in harvesting the coal. But out here in northwestern Ontario now, we'll be having harvesting of the wood biomass, and this provides more work.
Rentec has been contracted to provide half of the wood pellets to the generating station. The other half will come from Resolute's Thunder Bay mill.
So our contract with the Ontario Power Authority is for 90,000 tons of pellets per year. So that's what we're contracted for, and that's what we have secured with our 2 suppliers. You know, in the case of Rentec, you know, they'll be providing us our commissioning fuel right first thing, you know, into the next year.
Rentec hopes to have the plant operational by April of next year. For the small community of Atikokan, it's all good news. Nate Jones, TBT News.
Following the announcement last week that the Police Communications Center in Dryden will be closing, the association is trying to reverse that decision. The comm center has 9 full-time and 4 part-time employees and is slated to close in March. All 911 calls would be answered by the Owen Sound Police Service. Dryden's Police Association, which represents frontline officers and civilian staff, say they were never consulted on what they call an extremely drastic move. They say it has the potential to affect the entire area. The association is calling for support from the public to write letters to stop the move. And if that doesn't work, they want Dryden Council to ask for an OPP costing in order to keep jobs in the Northwest and not in Owen Sound. People often refer to them as the hub of any small community in Canada. After 40 years of hockey games, figure skating, and other activities, the Atikokan Ice Arena is in need of significant repairs and upgrading. Town Council is currently working on a plan to keep the arena operational for another 40 years. The mayor says hockey season will not be interrupted as Town Council moves towards investing in repairs to the existing structure. At this time, Atikokan lacks the funding to build a new arena. The estimated cost to build a new facility would be between $10 and $15 million. In moving forward, Council is waiting on a report on the first phase of the renovations. It is expected that $3 to $3.5 million will be spent, with a few added improvements. There are also talk of having ice during the summer in order to generate revenue for the municipality.
The present facility, we would like to expand the ice surface within the present structure. We'd like to do new mechanical and electrical systems, and we would like to be able to put in new dressing rooms.
Brown says the new change rooms could be built to accommodate both the arena and the community pool. If all goes well, construction is to begin in spring of next year, with the new ice surface in 2015. A unique invention is creating a buzz, and it centers around a kayak. Details coming up next. Well, it's a uniquely Northwestern Ontario invention that's taken almost 9 years to reach maturity. It's called the Kayak Caboose. It's a watertight, streamlined addition that can be towed right behind a watercraft. Inventor Sean Whitney wanted to create the caboose to help combat garbage along Lake Superior. Whether it's towed behind a kayak, rowboat, or canoe, Whitney says you can barely tell it's there. He saw a gap in the market when it came to extra storage while traveling on the water. With ample space to pack, Whitney hopes people who enjoy the water will be more inclined to take their garbage home. The caboose can hold up to 150 pounds and can be accessed without getting out of the kayak. Whitney says he's shipped his invention all over the world, and it's particularly popular with people on northern expeditions.
I have people right now that have used it on canoes, stand-up paddle boards. I got a woman in Toronto that her best mode of transport, according to her, is swimming, and she's loaded with full of gear and swam with it and loves it. Can't feel a thing back there. And like I said, I got 2 guys going on major trips next year.
Currently, Whitney is fundraising to create a new mold in order to reduce production costs. The mayor of Nipigon is applauding the provincial government's decision to roll out a new model for provincial policing. The province has announced it will be seeking feedback from municipalities on the upcoming implementation strategy. Recommendations from the Auditor General suggested creating a simpler billing model, which would give municipalities more control over policing costs. The announcement comes at a time when the police force will be in the contract renewal process. For the past 2 years, wages have been frozen, and the province has indicated there is to be an 8.5% wage increase in the new contract. The OPP have agreed to defer negotiations until the new model has been rolled out. Nipigon Mayor Richard Harvey says that there appears to be an imbalance in policing costs in similar-sized communities.
Oftentimes, it seems they don't even understand how they came up with these numbers, and that makes no sense. We should have a formula, a policy, a plan in place that you can sit down and you can say, here is how we came up with the number that you have to pay.
The first municipal consultations take place Tuesday in Fort Frances and Thursday in Thunder Bay. There is no word on when the new model will be implemented. Thank you for joining me. We'll see you again next time.